All right. Well, I guess we started. So, welcome to Audiomotive Podcast, first ever episode. My name is Dale. Some call me Dova. Some call me DW, Dovey. Got a list of names. Just don't call me bad ones. On the other end of the podcast, we got my man Brian. Brian, introduce yourself.
I'm Brian, aka Bizzle. That's all I got. Beezy, breezy, keep it easy.
For sheezy. Let's move.
Let's go ahead and dive into this. Okay. So our first topic of today is going to be our favorite new car from the 2015 LA Auto Show. Dove, I'll let you kick it off with what you liked.
Okay, I'm going to kick it off a different script. I've got a list of favorite new cars from the LA Auto Show. The top of that list probably being, surprisingly, the new Lincoln MZK.
MKZ.
Did I say M? Yeah. All right. I went kind of dyslexic on that one, but it's all good. No problems here.
Still make 80 Lincoln for their terrible naming scheme.
Yeah, that's Lincoln's fault for your horrible naming scheme. Every car you have has an MK and a Z in it. You just switch around the letters. Anyway, I really like the Lincoln MKZ. I kind of like it. You know, Brian, I'm a Audi A7-esque fan, right? I love that kind of four-door hatch coupe line deal. I love the CLS 63. Even though I hate every other Mercedes kind of looking car that they have now that has kind of that coupe roof line. But I love that A7 styling. And it looks kind of at an angle that you look at the Lincoln MKZ. It kind of looks like it has that kind of styling to it at kind of an angle. Really like it. Other lineup, surprisingly, it's a Subaru. I know this is really out the norm for me because I'm a V8 guy, right?
That is not at all what I was expecting to hear.
I know. I flipped the script flip. I really like the Subaru Impreza sedan concept. It looks sleek. It looks mean. And like I said, you know I'm a V8 guy, GAGT, GAGXP. I'm pushing the CTS-V right now, and my truck got a V8 under that hood. But I really like the Subaru. And probably rounding off for I did a top three, fair or not fair. You might have only chose one, but I don't abide by the rules because I'm a program manager. Rounding off the top, keep it American or quote-unquote American, the 2017 Buick LaCrosse. I think it looks good. I think it's a good turn for Buick. I still consider it an old people's car. So GM, if you're listening, put some sportiness in those Buicks, if that's a word, sportiness.
Give it to you.
It is. Yeah, okay, cool. Check mark. But yeah, I really like the Buick LaCrosse. I think it looks good overall. I think it's kind of got an aggressive styling to it. I hate the wheels, though. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's like a split 20-spoke. Maybe seeing it in person, I might be a fan, but right now, not so much. So, Bizzle, what are you talking?
All right, so my top pick, gonna speak a little Italian on this one. The 2017 Alfa Romeo Giulia, I believe is the pronunciation.
I'll give it to you.
Giulia Quadrifoglio.
Yeah, I'm going to give that one to you.
You're going to butcher that. It's Alfa coming back into the U.S. with a midsize sedan alongside, to compete against the M3, ATS, V, this, that, and the other. I like that market, with the smaller, sporty sedans. I think it's going to shake things up a little bit. I like the looks. It doesn't look like anything else out there right now, especially when you look at the front end.
Oh, not at all. Alfa's notorious for having that front end, right?
I'm going to keep it Italian for another minute. The new Fiat Spider,
Yes.
The 124 based on the Miata. Just like
The
you
Italian
dove,
Miata.
I'm a man of my power.
Yes.
But I've, I got my Charger with the Hemi.
The Hemi.
Got to have a Hemi.
The
But there's just
hemispherical.
something about that little roadster that just looks inviting and fun and not a nice top-down cruise. And then I'm gonna have to copycat off of you for the last one. I too like the Buick LaCrosse. I think it's a good, handsome addition to the lineup for Buick.
It is, right? It's a handsome car.
It's
I
updating
really
their
like it.
styling too. They've had the same kind of design basically since 2009, 2010, coming out of the
And the
bankruptcy.
same. That's a Buick commercial.
Yeah, that commercial needs to die. Please, GM marketing department, if you are listening, please get rid of that's a Buick commercials. They've been played out basically a couple months after they started.
Yeah, I think the only commercial running now that's even longer is that's got a longer reign is the Mercedes Christmas commercial.
That has been updated though. I don't know if you noticed.
It has. It's got the AMG GT in there at least now, but it's the same concept. Buick, on the other hand, has the same concept and the same vehicles, and I'm pretty sure the same actors. That's
yes.
a Buick.
I am finally glad, though, speaking of ads, one of the ads I am glad that has finally died is the Nissan Rogue, where they flipped it up on top of a train and then got back into the parking lot just in time. Because as we all know, Nissans are not that fast, especially
that's true. Right.
I mean, I'll give you a 370Z. I'll give you the GTR being fast, but yeah, a Rogue, like just.
Speaking of GTR, let's go off topic right quick.
Okay.
So, I've been lucky enough to live in a couple places that have fairly high incomes. Destin, Florida, and now I'm in Milwaukee, and I was in Dayton. Maybe not that high of income, but nevertheless, we've seen some nice things on the road in Dayton.
Yes.
I've never realized how huge the Nissan GTR is until today. So, and maybe it's because I was always whenever I've seen a Nissan GTR, I've been in my Expedition. So, big vehicle, you drive past and you're like, okay, maybe it is kind of small. But no, so I was in my CTSV rolling and I see this Nissan GTR. It was white, had the black accents, around the spoiler and the trim. And I'm looking and I'm like, this thing looks like it's 2 times the size of my CTSV. And I don't have the coupe. I've got the sedan. You know that, which, the coupe is kind of big, especially the rear end of it.
And goes on from miles.
Yeah, it's insane. But I'm like, this thing is huge. It's got impressive numbers, but just throw that out there. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, so, the Rogue commercial needs to die. So the Buick commercial needs to die. These new Buicks coming out, I hope they follow the design language of this new LaCrosse, and I hope we see, like you said, some more power coming back into Buicks. It's going to come with the new V6. It's 300 pounds lighter. The V6 has a little less power, but the weight loss is a lot higher than the power loss, so it should be a fairly fun car to toss around a little bit for what it is. Hopefully they'll
a higher power to weight ratio sounds like it, right?
Maybe they'll give it a V Sport version. Would be nice. I'm pretty sure it rides on the same platform that the XTS ran on, so that engine should fit up front.
Yeah. God, the XTS needs to die also. I'm so glad it is dying, but it needs to die quicker. It's the stamp of old Cadillac, and I hate it with a passion. Although kudos to GM for bringing out the car that every 70-year-old wants to drive extremely slowly on the highway. But it needs to die. It needs to die quicker. They just need to stop servicing them. Actually, they need to come out with a plan. Stop servicing them. Stop doing oil changes at the dealership on them so the engine blows up and all the old customers have to buy a new car. Even though that's not like it.
The XTS, it is a continuation of old Cadillac. but it was needed. If they dropped, because they had to kill the DTS off. The DTS was ancient. It went all the way back to the same platform that the DeVille sedan from the 90s. With the Northstar V8, which remind me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe the Northstar V8 was a most reliable engine in the world. Could be wrong.
I've got mixed feelings on them. They're not horrible.
The later ones were a lot better. The
later ones were a lot better. That they were putting in the GX, the Bonneville GXP, and even the Buick. What was the Buick's performance? The CXS or something of that nature.
The Lucerne had the CXL, I believe, had the Northstar.
Yeah, they had the wider tires up front and the skinnier ones in the rear because it was a front-wheel drive sports sedan.
I mean, and I will always love the Northstar, and probably one of the most unappreciated cars to me, the STSV.
Yes.
With that supercharged Northstar. That thing... 4.4,
was it 4.4 liter V8?
Yeah.
That had more horsepower than the CTS-V when it came out, the Gen 1.
Yeah, it also the sub 5 second 0 to 60.
Yeah, it's a unicorn, and it's not a G8 unicorn either.
No, it's a lot more rare than a G8, a little bit more special in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little bit more special than a G8. Even though there's probably about 1,000 people that would argue with you. But at the end of the day, it's a Holden. it's their import anyway.
So the XTS was needed. There's just a huge amount of fleet sales with the XTS that the CTS won't fill, and Cadillac needed to get the CT6 ready before they could kill off the XTS. I mean, you look at hearses, limos, high-end car services, the XTS, and then the large Lincoln. I think it's the MKS. Like I said, I can't keep the Lincoln name straight.
Yeah.
Just those large body cars. You need them. Like you said, otherwise you lose on that livery money. Like I said, limos, hearses. That's big money right there. GM needed something for that. The CT6, hopefully coming next year, should be taking over that market, and we can see the death of the XTS.
Yeah, I hope so. But CT6, I'm fairly impressed with. It's got the 4-wheel all steering and all that good stuff. And I'm glad they're bringing some of that technology into another LA Auto Show premiere in the XT5. I wasn't a fan of it when I first saw the pictures of the XT5. I'm like, man, that thing is ugly. I didn't like it. I thought it would kind of look like a bug or a smug seal. But I'm seeing the pictures of this thing in white, and let me tell you what, I'm really impressed with Cadillac and their white so far. I didn't like the ATS-V when it first came out. When I saw pictures of it, I'm like, this thing is ugly. Hated it, right? Why did they do that? Then I saw it in white, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing is sexy. I really liked it. And then the same thing goes for, well, I can't say the same thing for the CTS-V because you know I love the CTS-V ever since the first time I saw it. But then I saw it in the I forget what the color is, but the white with the limited edition $10,000 white and black combo with the carbon fiber aero package and all that good stuff. I saw the CTS-V in white, and I'm like, I think I can make $90,000 work or $110,000 work. I really liked it.
How long have I been telling you that white is the best color for a car?
I'm glad you added the caveat for a car, because for a person, I don't know.
Let me ask your last girlfriend, how you prefer white.
I don't think that's a very accurate statement.
No, we're going to stop right there before we get down that road. There's nothing good can come from that road.
Skirt, put it in reverse, back up, back to the XT5.
To the XT5, what we were originally talking about. It is a much needed much needed change and update. The SRX was getting long on the tooth because that was one of the bailout cars that came right around 2009, 2010, and
Yeah, it's a very safe car, right? Wasn't really impressive in any way.
it sold really well. So I can see them not wanting to make too many changes to it. The new one, though, I think it's going to continue that sales success. The headlights, I'm not the biggest fan of.
I love the headlights. I'm digging everything Cadillac is doing right now when it comes to headlights. Even though I think I know where you're going with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're about to say is how that running daytime daytime light, the teardrop, and you have that little extension on the teardrop that runs down the front bumper.
I think when I see one in person from a different angle, I'll probably change my mind. I will concede. I've only owned white cars, so I love the color of white on a car. I think black would make the teardrop look better.
I agree.
With white, the contrast of the headlight with the white just makes it stand out to me. It could, But I love the grille. I love the lines. I love the shape. I
wish the Cadillac emblem was a little bit more gaudy and large because the grille's huge, right? And then you have that little bitty tiny Cadillac emblem that takes up two of the little grilled spaces. Like I think it could be a bigger, more gaudy emblem. I mean, look at Mercedes emblem on the front of their cars. Yeah. It pretty much takes up the whole grill. Yes. And the SRX, the Cadillac emblem, even though it had that stupid reef, which I've always hated the reef. I didn't really understood it. I like the shield without the reef, but okay. You're going for, whatever type of luxury that a reef adds. Anyway, it's not Christmas. But even though it had the reef in or around the emblem still took up the majority of the grill, right? You look at any picture of the SRX, emblem took up the grill. Now it's almost like they're scared to say that it's a Cadillac, but they're really proud that it's a Cadillac. They're scared to show the new grill badge or the new Cadillac badge, but they're proud that they got rid of the reef and added a little bit more angular and depth to it. Anyway, that's my gripe. But what I really find impressive about it is my CTSV, right?
Yes.
20 or 41, almost 4,200 pounds.
Yes.
This thing tips the scale at under 4,000 pounds.
Yeah, under 4,000 pounds.
Under 4,000 pounds.
By a pound.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's under 4,000 pounds, right? You can be a millionaire and only have $1,000,001, but you're more than a millionaire, right?
Yeah. But if you have $999,999, do you call yourself a millionaire?
I mean, I would.
So that's like saying this 3,999 pounds is 4,000.
Wait, I think I just gave into your example.
You did.
Or flip script. Why it's not 4,000 pounds because it's one under.
So I'm a genius. You put like a couple pennies in there, and you're at 4,000 pounds.
Or if you put the average size American in there, you're back at 4,200.
Oh God.
On a serious note, am I not wrong?
You're not. I do think
I guess
am impressed.
The average American doesn't weigh 12,000 or 1,200 pounds, but nevertheless, you put two average Americans in there, then you're almost tipping the scale.
I am very impressed with GM. Every car they've moved to a new platform has lost a significant amount of weight. The new Camaro, the CTS, the new Malibu, everything is losing weight, getting lighter. They're on the right track. Like I said, I'm really happy with where GM's steering their vehicles.
I am too, and I don't know if it's because of the fairly Mary T. Barra. I probably butchered her name, but old GM was very old GM, right? They didn't really take risk in anything but their sports cars, and even then they were kind of safe in certain areas.
Especially
I think it's smart. I think it's smart.
They They didn't take risks with the old Camaro and Firebird. One of the reasons it died.
Yeah, that's true. And even the GTO, right? I mean, it was really that risky there, but their dealers kind of killed that for them. And I know it's hard for a company as big as GM to control the dealers, but I really think there needs to be dealer regulation. And I'm not talking about drug dealing regulation either. I'm talking about automotive sales dealer regulation. I go to a dealership and hey, I really like this car, and since it's the new Hellcat, whatever, it's $10,000 or $20,000 over sticker price. No, I did my research. I know the car is 70 grand coming out the factory floor or coming out the factory. Don't charge an extra $30,000 just because it's a 700 horsepower vehicle or 707 horsepower vehicle, and you think people want it. No, stop trying to scheme people out of money and scam people out of money.
I will give Dodge kudos for the way they handled that, because they can't, they sell the car to the dealership, so they don't have control of the pricing of it then. But what Dodge did is they told the dealers that we're doing markups on the Hellcats, that they're not going to get more orders next year.
Good. That's exactly how it should be. Dodge, way to flex your muscle. You were owned by Germans for a while, so way to flex your communist muscle. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
So
now they're Italians, so I guess they're back to Marxism. Anyway, I know it's a new world, so GM, or not GM, Fiat, Mercedes, I love you, baby.
Oh, God. All right.
But no, I hate that stuff.
All right.
I think wait, let me make one last point.
All right.
I think the new GM CEO, Miss Mary Mac, yeah, all that good stuff. I don't know if it was her idea or her implementation, but this one platform deal, brilliant. Right? Not only does it save money, but allows you to focus in one place. And what happens when you focus in one place? You do better in that one place. So the only thing you need to worry about is one platform or a handful of platforms. You don't need to worry about 17 different platforms across your the 5 different companies that fall under GM. Right?
No more Zeta, no more Sigma platforms for rear-wheel drive. Everything's Alpha now. It's great.
Right. So anyway, now that we're out of that took way too much time, but I like it. Good talk, good discussion, right?
So yes, I was thinking we could move on now. One of our, I hesitate to say favorite, one of the vehicles we like that falls in line with our interests currently is the Chevy SS. I know when it came out, it didn't come out to as much fanfare. GM, I mean, they're still dropping the ball on advertising the thing. Most people don't know what it is. Most people think it's a Camaro. But it's improved a lot since its debut.
Or an Impala. I think more people think of this Impala than a Camaro.
Impala Malibu. It's very generic. I like the fact that it looks generic. It looks like a sleeper. I like sleepers. But the Chevy SS has improved a lot since its debut. And I think right now it's probably one of the best new sports cars in its price range to buy. Goes up against the Charger, SRT8s. They've got a bit more power. I think the SS is a better platform and has a bit more refinement.
Definitely. Yeah, so as you know, so the new SS came out when I had my GXP, right?
Yes.
And I don't know how many times we've had the conversation, how many times I ran it, that I was extremely irritated that GM came out with the same car 4 years later. Irritates me. It's a show of laziness. And I understand it's a business, and maybe, and I think what led into it, and I could probably be corrected by somebody out there, was GM had a stock of LS3s that they needed to get rid of, right? It's one of the largest number selling crate engines, right? You can buy LS3 fairly cheap. That's cheap, 400 plus horsepower for whatever platform you're putting it in, right?
Yeah.
So they dropped it in the Chevy SS, and basically what they did was they sold the dummies Pontiac G8 GXP with new bells and whistle park assist and auto parking or whatever the heck they call that feature for 42K. And then dealerships went on ahead and marked up their price because it's the first rear wheel, all that fanfare coming from the first rear wheel drive vehicle Chevy had since the Impala. Stupid. Why is it stupid? Because look at the used market of Chevy SS's right now. You can go on Auto Trader right now, or what's that other place? CarMax, right? You can go on CarMax right now and find 8 or 9 different Chevy SS's with extremely low mileage. I think when I was looking the other day, the highest was 14,000 miles, which is nothing, for $38K or $36K. Remember, these things were 48. Sorry, I said 42, right? These things were $48,000 when they first came out. Some places they were charging $52,000 when they first came out, right? 50 plus. But right alongside with that, they parked a Corvette next to it. And sorry, if it's me and I'm looking at a car and I don't need 4 doors, I'm not taking a Chevy SS over a Corvette. I don't care, right? Especially if I'm going to pay virtually the same amount of money for it right now, right? So, I mean, look at the used market of Chevy. And these are 2014s, right? The first year that they came out. There's only one more model year out right now. That's 2015s. 2016s are coming out, I think, later on this summer, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't kept up on their model years. They might be out now.
So let me educate you a little bit, because looking at the Chevy SS is kind of my sad, dirty secret, right? I do check up on the Chevy SS a lot more than what I probably should, and a lot more than what I admit. But there are.
And you're not wrong. I just looked it up. So my closest Chevy SS that's used is in Cleveland. 38, 39 grand. Under 1,000 miles. Under 1,000 miles.
Yes.
2014.
2014. 38, 39
The LS3 is not even broke in yet. That's still a brand new LS3.
You probably have to take it back to the dealership and get its first oil change. But yeah, it's insane. These cars have dropped almost $10,000 price for having one owner and being put through, a summer's drive on a lot of occasions. But yeah, so I guess the 2015s, came out with the magnetic ride control,
manual,
and then a couple other manual, which was everybody was irritated that these things didn't have manual. Look, manual cars are dead. Manual sports cars are dead. I want everybody to pay attention to it.
There goes all our listeners.
I don't care. I do care. But listen, you can debate me if you want to on this. Manual sports cars are dead. Let me tell you why. If I can get an automatic that can shift faster and is faster, the new Z06, automatic is faster than the manual. I don't care how good you are at driving a manual. When it comes to the track purposes, there is no use in having a manual. Why? Because its automatics can think faster than you can and shift faster than you can. The only thing they don't have is eyes. And eyes isn't going to make you a faster driver. Right? So anyway, if you're listening, you don't like what I just said, debate me on it. I'm open for it. Do I want a manual car? No. Do I ever want a manual car? Sometimes. But because I was looking at the Z28, and those only come in manual. And I really like the concept of having a manual car. Just thinking big cities, honestly. I use my cars as not daily drivers. Well, not anymore. But I drive my cars a lot, right? And being in a bigger city, having a manual car is a pain in the butt. So
I want a manual up until I think about driving it to work and parking in a parking garage, and that just does not sound appealing to me at all.
Right. So anyway, so it added manual transmission. You got the same old Tremec 660, I think.
They added sport exhaust.
I don't know if they added sport. They added sport exhaust to the 2016s by mode exhaust to the 2016s. I think on the 2015s they only added driver selection where you can select different driving modes. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. I know I haven't talked to you much about it, but the Chevy SS used market, if you're looking for a cheap Chevy SS, go to a used market. I never buy a Chevy SS. I never buy a brand new car in general. Financially, it's stupid, especially if you're buying cars a lot. Buying cars a lot is financially stupid.
Buy new sports cars so we can buy them later.
Yes, if you have money, don't listen to anything that I just said. Buy new sports cars, then get in contact with me. Um, Audiomotive podcast at gmail.com. Put attention Dale in the subject mark or the subject box and shoot me what you want for your used car. Also on the Corvette forums, Z06s. No, I'm not saying that because that's my secret weapon. Anyway, let's press. So I know you wanted to talk about your recent used car shopping.
All right, so used cars. The used car market, as you said, I've been shopping recently for my girlfriend to find her a used car. It's been an interesting ride. She's pickier than I was before I ended up with my Charger. The funny thing is, the car she likes and that she wants is all my fault. When I was showing her cars, she doesn't like hatchbacks. I'm not the biggest fan, but I like the idea of the extra utility. So I'm like, oh, hey, look at this Mazda 3 hatch. No. Look at this Ford Focus hatch. No. I'm like, okay, look at this. I saw a Veloster. I like the idea of the Veloster. The 3 doors is cool to me. I think they look great for what they are. So I'm like, oh yeah, come sit in this, figuring she'd hate it. Of course, no. She decided she loves the Veloster, and now she has to have one. So,
boo! Good job, Brian.
I know, I screwed up. Like I said, it could be worse. There's a lot of worse cars to end up in.
Yeah, like a Scion IQ.
Yes, the Scion IQ. I sat in a Scion IQ at CarMax while we were there. I don't buy from CarMax. Their prices are a little higher. They don't haggle. I used to sell cars. I know how to haggle. I'm going to go to a dealership and get the best deal I can. CarMax is great for selling your car, and it's great if you're buying something unreliable. Get that warranty.
Get that warranty.
And it's great to go there and sit in every car you want. They have a larger selection than any dealer will have. So they had a Scion IQ. I have thought these things are the funniest looking piece of junk on the road since they came out. It makes no sense outside of possibly New York City. So I sat in one. I tried to sit in one. I get in. I could not sit up straight. I had to move the seat all the way back into the back seat, basically, and recline the seat into a crazy unnatural position just so my head fit in the car without bending to the side where I end up with my neck hurting me after 20 miles.
But let's be fair, okay? You do have a fairly big head.
I do. But it doesn't matter how large my head is. You wouldn't fit on it.
No, it does. No. I want all the listeners to know that we used to call this guy Helmet back in the day because he had this combat helmet that barely fit on his head and it just sat there on the top. Hey. Car Kokon, if you're listening, I need verification, I need validation, and I need another source to tell these people how horrible this helmet is.
Oh, Lord. The helmet's since been destroyed. So the IQ, it doesn't matter how large my head is. The fact is, if you're over 6 foot, you're probably not going to fit in the IQ. Not that you'd want one anyway, especially for listening to our show. The rest of it was terrible as well. The interior was just the layout, everything stupid. So, but one thing I have found is a lot of people that I've talked to about used car sales, like dealing with my girlfriend's parents, they're trying to steer her one way or the other. They think her budget should be one thing. These people, a lot of people searching for used cars, haven't realized within the past probably 4 or 5 years, really, used car shopping is not what it used to. Yes, words are hard. when you're looking on the internet, these prices that you're seeing are the lowest price they can usually go. You can probably get a couple more $100 off of them, depending on the car, maybe a bit more. But internet pricing, these dealers aren't going to jack it up, because if you jack up your price on the internet, then, oh, hey, Joe Schmo down the street.
You're not going to get that customer that comes in, right?
Joe Schmo down the street's got the same car for cheaper. Why even bother going to the other dealership?
Right.
It's But there is a lot.
There's some more dealership advice, right? There's some more dealership advice.
Yes.
Dealerships need to understand that nowadays people have the internet, right?
Yeah.
I look at the dealerships kind of like I look at a certain organization that I've been part of. In the fact that they're stuck in the past, right? There's the internet now, dealerships. Don't know if you heard of it. Al Gore created it. That's a joke for all my intelligent people out there. Anyway, wasn't it Al Gore that said he created the internet? Anyway. Yeah. Actually, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base created the internet. Do your research. Shout out to Matt Hoddy. His dad worked on it, I guess. Anyway, we have the internet. What?
Back to cars.
Yeah, back to cars. Sorry, get sidetracked. We've got the internet, right? So we're going to search nationwide for the best deal that we can possibly get within our budget.
Oh, of course.
And if dealerships aren't willing to negotiate on a nationwide basis, they automatically cut themselves out the race, right?
I think a lot of dealerships are still thinking local. I mean, I know we don't think local when buying a car. I mean, you went, Minnesota for your CTSV all the way from Florida? My Charger, I went to a local dealer for a Charger that had been on that lot 180 days, which in the car sales world, in the dealership world, 180 days is insane. That when I worked at the dealership, if we had a car that was there for 90 days, that you had extra incentives to move that car. They wanted that car gone. 180 days this car had been on the lot. I'm interested. It was in Charger, all-wheel drive, decent options. I test drove it, great. Started talking numbers with the guy. I hit, first thing he says, "Oh, this is our price. We can't go lower." I call his BS. So what's he do? He pulls up their program. It shows me how we bought it for $50 less than we're selling it to you, so we're losing money. Don't buy it. $50. That program, they can change that price that they bought it for on that program anytime they want to. So when they're showing that deal for you, they'll change the price and say, "Oh yeah, see, look, we're barely making money on it. Don't buy it." What I do, I turn around, I find the car I want in Detroit. I drive 4 hours from Cincinnati to Detroit. Simple drive, real easy. I pick up my nice 2013 Charger, low mileage, certified pre-owned.
And it was a year newer than the one that they were selling at the dealership, right?
Yeah, it was a year newer. I think it had a little bit less mileage, and it was the color I wanted, white.
And it only came out of. Only thing you were out was gas and,
a day's
4 hours.
Yeah.
And a day's worth of driving round trip. Yeah. That's not that much money. That's not that much money, and it was worth your time, right?
Oh,
when
easily.
I went to Minnesota,
afterwards I took a nice little trip over to Put-in Bay up on Lake Erie.
Nice.
My girlfriend and I, we took the ferry out, had a Commodore Perry IPA while I was sitting looking at the Perry Monument on the island.
Nice sipping right there.
Nice sipping. It was great, Watched the sunset from the island, all that cute stuff. Got to explore around up there. Shoot, that was a nice little road trip.
Right. It was a vacation, right? And you got to pick up a car. When I went to Minnesota, in dead winter to pick up my CTSV. It had 6,000 miles on it, which was 40,000 less than the local CTSV, which was at Sandy Sangs in Pensacola. And they wanted like $46K for this CTSV. And it had 46, almost 47,000 miles on it. I'm like, absolutely not. Well, we've got the only CTSV in the local area. I don't care. I can go to Minnesota. I spent $400 on a plane ticket. I took a day off. And it was a 4-day weekend. So I went to Minnesota. I stayed in Minneapolis overnight, got to explore the Mall of America, had a mini vacation, and I drove my basically brand new, barely broken CTSV from Minnesota to Cincinnati, hung out with Bizzle for the weekend. It was great. We hung out at the Dobie. I think that was the last time we hung out at Dobie's too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the last time. Because I know we went to Dobie's once when I started dating Sarah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But it was one of the last times we had JC1 and JC2 up there for a family photo.
Which on Facebook, I probably need to post that. I got the 2-year notification of the family photo being taken today.
Oh, great! You've had the CTSV for 2 years. That's the longest you've owned a car since probably ever, right?
The only car I've owned longer was my Oldsmobile Alero, which was a great car. I like my Oldsmobile Alero. Later on, I found out it was kind of a chick car. And then if I was going to get a car like that, I probably should have got the Pontiac Grand Am GT. But I was looking at those. I couldn't find one within the price range.
No, it wasn't a bad car at all. It served its purpose.
It did. It got me around college. It was kind of cool to drive. Anyway, so my Oldsmobile Alero I had longer, and my G8 GT I had longer. I had my G8 GT for about 3 years.
No.
So this time next year, if I still have my CTSV, and I don't have a new CTSV, a Z28, or any of the other cars I've been complaining and moaning about that I want, Z06, knocking on wood right now, I don't want a Z06 this time next year.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway.
So
yeah.
The other thing that dealers have done when I was car shopping that just needs to stop, that needs to change, that they're only alienating people with, is trying to sell you on the wrong car. I knew what I wanted. I wanted a Charger RT. I wanted to at least have the paddle shifters and the sport mode.
That's all you need.
That's all I need. I emailed dealers because they're the ones selling the car to me. I want them to do some legwork to earn my business. I got emails back. I sent my price too. I'm like, I don't want to pay any more than $23,000. I want under 30,000 miles, and I want the paddle shifters and the sport mode, the important stuff. So I got emails back for, here's a 25 grand for this 2012 RT and 18-inch wheels, which are ugly as shit. No sport. I mean, just a base car with 38,000 miles. And it's like, every dealer sent me stuff like that. I had some send me, oh, look, we've got this V6 on our lot. Like, no. I want the Hemi. So, they said, that's why I drove up to Detroit. Like, if you're at a dealer and you're working the internet sales, emailing somebody, and they send you a list, they want what they want. Telling them to come in and look at your car that's sort of similar, it's just going to piss them off.
Yeah, that's not what I asked for. I know why I came here. I think dealerships are amazed by people like us, right? We know what we want. Well, me kind of. I generally know what I want. I know I bounce back and forth between getting the CTSV.
But you're not going to a dealer and,
I'm not going to pick up a Ford Focus because the dealer says, oh, we've got this on sale. No, I generally know what I want. And I don't think dealerships are used to dealing with people like that, right?
They don't. Well, I don't think it's something they're not used to. It's that they don't like to. They want someone that comes in that they can show everything,
yeah,
and hold their hand the whole way, so they can work with that person and then get the sale that way. When you come in knowing what you want, well, they don't get to try and upsell you because you know exactly what model and what options you want. They know you're probably going to know what price you want to pay.
Yep.
You're going to have done your research. It's so the dealers, they'd rather have someone that's, I just want a compact car.
Yeah,
that's
I think
easy.
dealerships are kind of used to people showing up and saying, hey, I want a new car. I'm kind of thinking about this. I really like these, and I want to pay this much. Right, and I think that's where dealerships and car salesmen thrive. I've never been a car salesman. I've been a tire salesman at good old Sears at the Dayton Mall, and it's kind of the same thing, right? We used to have people come in, hey, I need tires for my vehicle. Okay, what kind of vehicle do you have? And you try to figure out what tires best suit the customer. Now, generally, you would try to point them to the most expensive tire because we got commission, all that good stuff, right? And then work down from there. Sales tactic, not really my style, but hey. It got me that cake in college.
See, so to wrap up our talk on dealers. Just, they need to modernize for the era we're in. I think the reason CarMax and other places like it have popped up with the no haggle stuff is too many people are afraid of negotiating, which it's, you don't have to be afraid. You just tell them what you want.
Yeah, people don't like negotiating though.
And I get it. It can be a little scary, but you're the one that holds all the power as the buyer. I mean,
Correct.
Especially in the age of the internet. Oh, you want a Mazda 3, and you just happen to be on, Joe Schmo's Ford lot, and they have one used that you want. That's not the only Mazda 3 that's used. Probably within 50 to 100 miles of it. You can go down to John Smith's Hyundai dealership, and they'll have a used Mazda 3 you can pick up. You could have a better price, better options for that better price, less miles. Don't be afraid to use the internet looking for your car. Don't be afraid to drive a little bit further than you normally would. And don't be afraid to walk away. Exactly.
Walking away has a lot of power that most people don't realize it does, right? That's money walking out the front of the dealership. And yes, and a caveat that in the dealership's eyes, right, you're a body, and there's millions of other bodies out there looking for cars. And not negotiating if you have fair prices and honestly fair prices, which a lot of dealerships don't. They just say we don't negotiate because of whatever reason. And I think it's kind of to force people into buying cars at the price that they set and using the no negotiation tactic as just that, a tactic to ensure that they keep a lot of their money, especially in the used car market, which is a lot where dealerships get a lot of their money from. I don't think anybody should be afraid of walking away. I don't think anybody should be afraid if you can afford it, and if you can, if you have the ability to give up the time, you should go to California for a car and live in Florida. That shouldn't be an issue, right? Even if you ship the car, you're only paying, let's just say you pay $1,000 to ship the car. If you save $4,000 off the sticker price because the car's cheaper in California, do it. You're spending $1,000 to save $3,000. It makes sense.
And don't be afraid of the paperwork. It's not that hard. When I did my deal in Detroit, you're in Minnesota, faxing paperwork, scanning and emailing paperwork, it's not that hard. If you don't have a scanner, you've got a cell phone with a camera. You can send whatever documents you need. I guarantee you the dealer's probably done it before. If your salesman hasn't, someone at the dealership sold a car across state lines. They know how to help.
Yeah. Yep.
Your bank's dealt with setting up loans on cars across state lines, your state DMV.
Yep.
Their website probably has information about buying a car in another state and then bringing it there to get registered. It'll all fall into
all place. These are resources, right? All of them are resources, and people have the experience. Just because you don't have the experience doesn't mean that you don't have the capability of doing something, right? Use the resources around you. It's that simple. Every car I've bought, recently, every car I bought, when I say recently, my last two cars, or not the Expedition, the CTSV and the GXP have been across state lines. It wasn't that big of a deal. I paid state tax on the vehicle at the dealership that I went to, which was out of state. Except for the GXP, I ended up paying, like I told you before, I paid Georgia's tax, and then Florida's tax was more, so I paid the difference. Yeah. But I only had to go to the DMV and paid that when I registered the vehicle. It wasn't that big of a deal.
No. And my last thing to say is always look up forms for whatever vehicle you're buying. If you're buying a Charger, if you're buying a Corvette, a Viper, Mustang, find the forms, especially if it's depending on the model. Ask the other people. If you're buying new, ask the other people where they bought theirs new, because some dealers will give you a better deal. They won't have the markup. Or if you're buying used, you might find a used one on there you want if you're fine with buying from a private party. Or these people will tell you what to look for when you're going on the lot, what common problems to look for, what price to expect. Always use every resource you can get.
I'm kind of mixed on forums. I do agree with everything that you said, but just in general, I'm kind of mixed on forums. Because there are a lot of idiots on forums. But what I really like about forums, but that's everywhere, right? What I really like about forums is it's generally unbiased opinions, right? They're not going to say, well, G8 hate, they're not going to say that they have the best car in the world. They really don't, right? They're going to give you all the problems that they've had with the vehicle. And if there are problems that you just can't deal with, yeah, there are no problems. But they're going to tell you, you can find out all the issues that you deal with. The CTS-V and the ZL1, when there was a supercharger recall, because of the spring inside the upper pulley rubs in. Anyway, I found about that on a forum way before GM even announced the issue. I think it was a good 2 or 3 weeks later that GM, or I read an article saying that, GM's recalling the superchargers for a possible, I don't know if they said catastrophic failure or failure, anyway, possible failure due to the spring inside the upper pulley, or whatever that spring's located. And then they said for the model years, and then they told you to get in contact with your local dealer. I found out about this issue, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe actually a month prior. Earlier on the forum than I did through the even news, right? So check out forums. There's generally forums for every car. I mean, I think there's even forums for Toyota Camrys.
Sure.
So anyway, let's press.
All right. Let's wrap. We're gonna wrap this show up here soon. Our last topic we're gonna hit on today. We're gonna cover self-driving cars.
Yes, let's cover news in general because I have a couple things that I want to talk about on this. So let's cover news in general. So I was recently, and by recently, I think it was last week, I was driving to work, and I tend to listen to the news sometime, when I'm not banging some Jay-Z, some Ye, some Pusha T, some Shy High, some Kid Cudi, listen to all my hippity-hoppity music. Yeah. I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about how I think it was Newt Gingrich. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Gingrich. Anyway, yeah, Gingrich. Anyway, unimportant dude. He wanted to halt the progression of self-driving cars for fear that it will cause more accidents than it'll save. Okay, cool, Newt. And he specifically hit on Tesla, right? So, recently Tesla's been killing the market. I really like Teslas design-wise. They look great, and they're good cars for what they are, right? And even for what they're not. I think the new Tesla is going to have a 0 to 60 time of 3.2 seconds or something ridiculous like that. But for fear that it's going to cause more accidents than not. And Tesla recently also pushed out an over-the-air update, which is amazing, right? Because right now, only thing over-the-air updates are your mobile devices to allow for kind of sort of self-driving cars. I don't know. Have you read about that or heard about it at all?
Yes.
Okay, so you know that the car kind of reads the lines and stays within the boundaries of the lines, basically.
For the most part, yes.
For the most part. Dumbing it down a lot. I'm not, what is it, Elon Musk?
Yes, Elon Musk.
Elon. I'm not Mr. Musk. I'm probably going to call the dude Mr. Musk because I'm never going to be as smart or have as much money as this dude. But I can't explain it like he would. But it's really cool technology, right? And Newt Gingrich wants to halt it. I'm generally, and then speaking away from cars, I'm so tired of older, closed-minded people trying to halt a generation of individuals ready to progress in technology, right? I'm tired of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Do there need to be some boundaries? Yes, I agree. Because if we just let our minds run a wild and don't try to keep it within some boundaries, then that's when things happen. But these are calculated risks. Google's been working on self-driving cars for, I don't know, 5 years now, maybe?
The only accidents the Google cars have had as well is the only accidents have been caused by humans.
Humans. Not the technology itself. Humans.
And now I will say there are some holdbacks to the full Google system. Google cars cannot drive, I know snow, I believe heavy rain as well. The poor visibility, not seeing the lines, does limit the technology, but that's something that will be overcome with time.
Right. Just give it time. I think I really like the idea of self-driving cars. And I really think, no, it wasn't Newt. It was Ralph Nader. My bad. Good thing we fact-checked. It wasn't Newt Greenwich.
Thank you, Nate, for fact-checking for us.
Yeah, shout out to at the real Kendrick Lamar. No. Shout out to Nate for fact-checking. But no, I've got the article link, and we'll post it with the podcast if anybody wants to read it, but it's really interesting. It's Ralph Nader. Never been a fan of Ralph Nader. He served his purpose, and he talks, and people listen because they want to laugh, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it was Ralph Nader. He wants the auto industry to hit the brakes on self-driving cars. Anyway, we'll post a link with the podcast and let you all read it. In other news, go ahead.
I was gonna say my car news. It's a little bit different. Recently, too, they're changing up the crash tests soon on cars. From what I've been reading, which is interesting. So
they're going to use real dummies instead of fake dummies.
They do want new dummies that are more human-like, which I think I've watched a lot of crash test videos recently. Every now and then it's just fun to kind of see how cars stack up. The current dummies do need some improvement. The big thing, every time they change a crash test, you'll see the news. All these cars are terrible in this one test. Well, yeah, because the reason they change the test is because they're seeing a lot of accidents. They try and make the test more realistic. What's going to happen? That's I think the last test that was added to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. It was a small overlap test back in 2012. I remember seeing after that all sorts of articles coming out about how all these cars are going to kill you. Yes, they could. But you look at it, the small overlap test is what's going to happen if you're on a 2-lane road, small head-on collision basically from your headlight over. Vehicles, every time they change a crash test, these car manufacturers are going to go to their drawing boards, they're going to go back to their engineers and say, what can we do to max it on this test? So the first year it might not be the best, but every car is going to get better on those tests. And your current car is not bad, it's not going to kill you. I think it's always interesting what tests they choose to do, because you really get to see how much your car is going to protect you in an accident. Any brand new car today is going to treat you pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I've never really been one to look up the crash test results. I will say that testing is just that, testing, and to continue to test vehicles and to not assess what you're testing them to, right? Testing is only good, or the data that you get from your test is only going to be as good as the data that you put into your test, right?
Yes.
So to be testing based off of old highway, and I don't know how they gather this data, right? So I'm not going to act like I do, but let's say that they get a list of all the highway crashes in the U.S. in a year, and they take and look at what the most common factors are, and let's say it is the test that you were talking about where they hit the impact on the front, on the headlight, corner of the headlight. And if that's not what the most common is, or if they look at a 10-year span and that's not what the most common is, then why are you doing the test, right?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything but inciting panic. Just to say that, these list of cars are horrible in the test, but Mazda passed, so what's everybody going to do? They're going to go out and buy a Mazda 3. Do they need to? I don't know why we've been using Mazda 3 a lot. We've been using that a lot. But they're going to go out and buy a Mazda. Do they need to? No. Their car's not going to kill them. Pay attention to what you're doing, and you're not going to get in a wreck, generally.
Exactly.
Enough things happen. But, yeah.
I do need to say
testing is only going to be good with the data that you put into it. This is the data that you're going to get out. You put crap in, you get crap out.
Exactly. So we're going to wrap this up. I do need to say, Mazda, if you are listening, we will accept paychecks for brand advertisement. We currently
back pay for what we've used so far.
We are currently not getting paid for this podcast, so all the opinions are organic. from our years of built-up car bias. Basically, unless it's a G8, it's not going to be perfect. So if you want the perfect car, get your Pontiac G8 GT. We're not getting paid for that because Pontiac ain't around no more.
On sale at your local forum for double the price it's worth.
Yes.
But before we go, I do want to talk about one thing.
Okay.
Another article that I read.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't read a lot. But in this case, I did. And it was by the homies Joplinick. I never know how to pronounce their name.
Yeah.
But anyway, they came out with an article. And go check it out if you're listening. It's pretty funny, interesting, and sensible article called "The Scariest Thing About Hellcat." The Hellcat is the third owner, and I've paid attention to this, and you can look at it across any kind of performance vehicle line. It's always a third owner, and below that kind of ruins vehicles. So they're basically saying, to sum it all up, your third owner of this Hellcat is going to have 707 horsepower to unleash, right? And it's going to be around $30K, and it's going to be a 22-year-old dude or a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old dude about to hit college and thinks that he's the hottest dude on the face of the planet because he has a 707 horsepower car. And he's going to be dodging in and out of traffic, doing stupid stuff. So be on the lookout for third owner Hellcats. I think that they should have to wear some type of dunce cap on the roof, maybe like a bright neon yellow cone to indicate that they're the third owner, so you notice they're far away from them.
All right.
But anyway, it's a very interesting article, and we'll post that in the link for that article in the bottom, or however we're going to do it on the local podcast. Anyway, so we're wrapping this thing up, right, Bizzle?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Hey, first podcast. It was good. It was fun. I liked it. I look forward to doing more. If you're listening tomorrow, Thursday, I guess.
Friday. It'll
Friday?
be posted on Thursday.
Okay, so if you're
Wednesday.
listening,
we record these on Wednesday. We post them on Thursdays.
yeah. So if you're listening on Thursday, next Thursday or 6 Thursdays from now on our first podcast, whenever you listen to this, appreciate you listening, and we'll be back next week.
We're hoping to do weekly shows. Shows should be releasing every Thursday. Worst case, every other Thursday. Check back, comment, let us know how we did. Let us know what you want to hear. And
we're open to suggestions, right?
Right. Thank you for enjoying Audiomotive with Dove and Bizzle.